Tamikaze here with a Fortuna 2.2 update tutorial. Wanted to talk about a bunch of things. I'm going to start from scratch, so this can be the end-all be-all tutorial for updates this week. First, let's go through how to add it. So you go to indicators. If you're starting without it, you would go type in Fortuna. You would have 2.0 here, star it so you don't lose it, and then you can just add it in like that. And since I already have it added in, we can just remove that. So now that we have it added in, you can see you can use it on any ticker you want, but if you'd like, you can customize it per ticker. So if you're wanting to play a certain ticker that day, I would suggest customizing it before the market, as not every setting works perfect on every ticker. But I did set up default so that it would work on the majority as well as possible. So let's get into the settings and talk about what we can do to make it better. So right now I'm running custom settings for MasterCard here. We'll just start top to bottom here and talk about what we can do. So one buy per sell mode basically means you only can have one buy per sell. And what that's going to do is help us in the future decide if we wanted to auto trade something. We can mess around with a bunch of settings. So including that, what was meant to go with it are these aggressive sells, but you could certainly use these by yourself. Aggressive sells is going to try to sell every peak. Basically, it's going to go crazy. So if you're in a play and you just want to know the early bird warnings to start getting out, that would be the way to go. I also have an alternative mode of picking sells. This is like ultra aggressive, and if you want to combine both factors to get the best of both worlds, I would suggest combining them, and then that'll get you your peak sells. So basically what the sells are trying to do here with the aggressive ones, if we zoom in, is it's trying to tell you, hey, it's time to start thinking about getting out, because I'm trying to warn you before the drop happens. So this is something that a lot of other indicators will not do. They always tell you after the drop starts to happen. Mine should hopefully warn you before the drop happens, and then it's just up to you to do your trend lines and so forth. After that, we have our RSI level, and I've mentioned before an RSI level. Think of this as a glass of water, and at the top is 100% full, and at the bottom is 0, and you're just lowering the threshold for it to be purchased in. So if we had an RSI buy level of 42, that means it has to be below 42% level. So it has to dip below that before it will allow it to buy. So if you're trying to if you want more buys, that's why we're not getting any on here, because it's not below that 42% level. And the same thing with the 70. Because these buys are independent, that doesn't matter. So let's just turn those off so I can show you this. So 70 is it has to be above that level. So we're trying to get above that peak. And then once it gets above that, then it will be able to issue that whether you're not. So if you were to lower this to say 50, we would see a bunch more buys pop up, as you just seen there. And so far, and the same thing with the sells. If we were to raise this up to 60, you should see a bunch more sells pop up. And just like that. So these are going to be the two that you want to play with for every ticker. These are going to be the most customizable settings right here. These settings right here, herein, is just a measure of how fast something goes down or up. So if you include that, that means it has to go down fast, or it has to go down, or it has to go up fast if you include those. I typically don't, but I put those in there for people that want to be ultra conservative. So if you include that, it should take away some, but also leave some. So you can see it left these because these went down, but this one didn't go down that fast because it's not going down. So, and the same thing with sells. It might not take these away, but yeah, it took one away there. But commodity channel means it has to be trading in a channel, basically. So if you take that off, it should add a bunch more. But some tickers, the commodity channel works really good. It's supposed to restrict some of the buying on some of these down sells. So I always leave it on for sells. I don't see the reason to take it off. And then the Keltner bands is just basically when it's below its average. So if you include those on, should restrict it even further. So if you want more, more accurate buys, but not as many buys, that's what the Keltner bands are for. If you want more buys, take it off. VWAP is volume weighted average price. So if you take that off, think of this as an average price line. And then when it goes below this average price, only can buy below the average price line by volume. Uptrend confirmation. It's a acceleration based formula that basically means it has to be trending up or accelerating back up, and the same thing with the downtrend is it has to be accelerating down. If you take that off, you will get more buys, but some of them will still not be as accurate. Bullish sentiment, this one I believe has to have everything else involved. This will be very restrictive. And this one is in the works. It didn't work out how I wanted it to, but we're going to leave it in there for now for testing, and we will make changes to it as we need it. So I don't foresee this one being very useful, but what I do like is the bearish sentiment. That is not what I intended, but we will work on that one. So buy every dip. These two are basically used in conjunction with the once buy per sell. So that would be use them together basically. That's the whole point of it. So that way you're securing, if you just wanted to scalp, these would be great settings. So you're going to buy every dip and then sell every peak basically, but you're not going to get huge gainers. It's just for scalping and day trading. So use those together. And then the big change is we are updating to include some visual updates here. So what you're going to see here with the trend candles is it should hopefully change the candles green on uptrends and the candles red on downtrends. So what it does is it fills in the bodies green on uptrends. That's a little bit better. And then on downtrends, it turns it red. So you can see above green, down red. This one is for those that like to zoom in and use it. If you take it off, it will change every candle that. Now for the ones that people will probably use more is the colored trend line. This is going to show you the trend, whether it's green or red, regardless of the candles. And then the newest one that everyone's going crazy over is the wave EMAs. They are spaced 5-day average parts, and there's 20 of them or 19 of them, and they create a wave showing you each EMA. So what it does is it kind of shows you the buying waves. So it's very pretty and very cool, and could be very useful once you learn how to use it. So thank you all for watching, and hopefully this helped explain how to use Fortuna and some of the new settings.